He was so poor he couldn't afford bread. But for years, every single day, he recited just one dua 1,000 times. Today, he's a billionaire. This is the dua that changed everything. It was a night of heavy rain in the slums of Karachi. The streets were drowning in muddy water, the flickering bulbs outside the small tea shop struggling to push back the darkness. Inside a cramped one-room home, Abdul Rahman sat cross-legged on a thin mattress, a torn blanket around his shoulders. His children were asleep in a corner, their breaths soft and shallow. His wife, Amina, was sewing a torn shirt under the dim yellow light. The sound of rain was like a constant whisper of grief outside, as if the sky itself mourned their poverty. Abdul Rahman was not an uneducated man. He had studied in school until grade 10, dreamed of becoming a businessman, but life had a way of folding dreams into paper boats and letting them sink in the dirty canals of reality. He had worked as a helper in a shop, then as a rickshaw driver, then as a night guard. Still, the debts grew, the rent loomed over him like a storm cloud, and sometimes there wasn't even enough to buy bread for dinner. One evening, after returning from a long day pulling his rickshaw, his clothes soaked in sweat and his hands shaking from hunger, Abdul Rahman sat down on the prayer mat. He had prayed Maghrib, but tonight his heart felt heavier than usual. He raised his hands and whispered, "Ya Allah, I am tired. I am drowning. I have nothing left to give. Show me a way, Ya Rab." It was then that he remembered a khutbah he had heard months ago in a mosque. The Imam had spoken about Ayat-e-Kareemah, the powerful dua of Prophet Yunus, AS, in the belly of the whale. La ilaha anta, subhanaka, inni, kuntu minaz, zalimeen. There is no deity except you, glory be to you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers. The Imam had said, whoever recites this with sincerity, especially in times of hardship, Allah will open for him doors he never imagined. This is not just a dua for forgiveness. It is a key to mercy, to rizq, to relief from every prison life puts you in. That night, Abdul Rahman made a promise. Ya Allah, I will recite this every day 1,000 times until you answer me. Even if my tongue becomes dry and my eyes grow tired, I will not stop. And so it began. Every morning before far, while the rest of the slums still slept, Abdul Rahman would rise, perform wudu, and sit in the corner of his room. His lips would move in a rhythm like waves on the shore. La ilaha anta, subhanaka, inni, kuntu minaz, zalimeen. La ilaha anta, subhanaka, inni, kuntu minaz, zalimeen. He counted on his old wooden tasbih, bead after bead, until he reached 1,000. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The debts did not disappear overnight. The rent still needed paying. But something inside Abdul Rahman began to change. His heart felt calmer, his anger at his poverty faded, and a strange hope grew in him, a belief that Allah had heard him and was preparing something. One day, while waiting for passengers in his rickshaw, an elderly man in a white Kurta stopped and asked for a ride to the other side of the city. The man looked wealthy, with a kind face. During the ride, they began talking. The old man was a retired businessman who now invested in small ventures to help struggling people. When they reached the destination, the man said, "You speak honestly. You remind me of myself when I was young. Come to my office tomorrow. I might have some work for you." Abdul Rahman went the next day. The man offered him a small job managing a warehouse. Simple work, but with a stable salary. It was the first real job Abdul Rahman had ever had. He thanked Allah with tears in his eyes that night, reciting Ayat-e-Kareemah with even more passion. Months passed. Abdul Rahman worked with honesty, refusing bribes, managing the accounts with precision. The old man trusted him so much that he handed over the entire operations to him. One day, the man called Abdul Rahman into his office. "I'm old now. My children live abroad and don't want to take over my business. I want to sell it. Do you want to buy it?" Abdul Rahman laughed bitterly. "Sir, I don't have even 1% of the money needed." The old man smiled. "I know, but I've seen something in you. Sincerity, trustworthiness. I'll sell it to you at a fraction of the price and lend you the rest, interest-free." Pay me back when you can. It felt like a dream. Abdul Rahman signed the papers. He became the owner of the warehouse. But Allah's plans were greater. One of the products stored in his warehouse, a certain kind of imported electrical part, suddenly became high in demand due to a government project. Abdul Rahman's small stock sold out in weeks, earning him more than his entire yearly salary. He reinvested the profits, expanded, and within 3 years, he was running multiple warehouses and a wholesale business. Every success, every deal, every unexpected opportunity, he would return to his prayer mat at night, weeping and saying, La ilaha illa anta, subhanaka, inni, kuntu, minaz, zalimeen. By the 7th year, Abdul Rahman was no longer the man who counted coins to buy bread. He was a billionaire, owning shipping companies, properties, and factories. But he lived simply, still in the same modest home, until his wife convinced him to move to a larger one for the children. He never forgot the hunger in his children's eyes from the old days. So, he began funding free meal programs, building schools in rural villages, and quietly paying the debts of widows. Whenever asked about his success, he would smile and say, "It is not my doing. It is Allah's mercy. I was in the belly of my own whale, poverty, and I called upon him with the dawah of Yunus. He brought me to the shore." Years later, a young journalist interviewed him for a magazine. She asked, "What's the secret behind your success?" Abdul Rahman leaned forward and said, 1,000 times every day for years, La ilaha illa anta, subhanaka, inni, kuntu, minaz, zalimeen. Not because I wanted money, but because I wanted Allah to hear me. When you remember Allah constantly, the dunya comes chasing after you. But by then, your heart no longer belongs to you. That night, after the interview, Abdul Rahman walked alone to his prayer. His tasbih lay on the bed. The beads were worn smooth after years of use. He began again, whispering into the silence, his eyes wet with gratitude. La ilaha illa anta, subhanaka, inni, kuntu, minaz, zalimeen. And somewhere beyond the unseen veil, the mercy of Allah smiled upon him once more. Now you are in your own belly of the whale, drowning in problems, debts, or sadness. Don't lose hope. Start today. Recite the dua of Prophet Yunus, la ilaha illa anta, subhanaka, inni, kuntu, minaz, zalimeen. 1,000 times a day, with full belief in Allah's mercy. Watch how He opens doors